Hey everybody, how you doing? This is John with ACTION-FLIX.com coming at you live. We have a special episode of the ACTION-FLIX Live. As you all know, I did one last night because we were immortalizing the great Carl Weathers, who sadly passed away a few days ago. So I did a little live show about that. But I have a special occasion today. I have one of my original action stars that I interviewed when I started my website. Christ, it was like 9 years ago. So he was one of the Chads that I interviewed when he started doing the sniper films. So we didn't get a chance to talk last year because of all the stuff that happened with the strikes and everything. But I want to welcome everybody to the ACTION-FLIX Live. Brandon Beckett himself, Chad Michael Collins. Chad, how you doing?
John, reporting for interview duty, my friend. It's been too long.
Outstanding. Thank you so much for doing this. We're live. So I haven't done, this is my second live show in 2 days, but I haven't done one in a year, so I'm a little rusty. So hopefully we get through this without any major snafus.
We'll get through it together, my friend.
Absolutely. So like I was saying in my short intro, yeah, you were the second interview I ever did. I did the great Chad Law, producer, writer Chad Law, who has written so many great action movies, and then you were the second one. So I had two Chads in a row, and from there it's just I forget how many times I've interviewed you, but press and audio, like 4 or 5 times already. So
yeah,
yeah.
I don't think there's any need for a website rebrand. ChadFlix.com. We don't need to go that far, but we're always happy to be one of your OG interviews.
Absolutely. I'll never forget it. Yeah, I'll never forget when you contacted me, because I was like, huh? I was like, why is he contacting me? It's like, I'm nobody. It's like, but yeah, and like here we are today. Like freaking 15 sniper films later, and you're still going strong.
I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah,
are sniper movies apparently.
Now here's the thing. I wanted to talk to you about this too. Like the thing about the sniper films, it makes me laugh because we never know it's happening. Like nothing's on the IMDb, nothing has been mentioned, nothing has been said, nothing has been talked about. Then all of a sudden it's like there's a trailer, and I'm like, holy shit! I'm like, there's another sniper movie. And it's like, how are you able to like sneak this stuff in under everybody's radar?
Yeah, I mean that's a good question for the Sony brass. I'm always thrilled to get the call and to strap back in as Brandon Beckett, and we did mix it up after we did Rogue Mission. They kind of undid the embargo and kind of let us tease the fact that we were going to go into shooting another one, which turned out to be Sniper Grit as well. So that was kind of the first time that they let us say anything about it in advance and whatnot. So that was kind of nice to actually not have to, keep it on lockdown. But, I got to be honest, between Call of Duty and the Sony sniper movies, all the NDA lifestyle sort of thing, I've definitely learned how to keep my yap shut so as not to cross lines and get myself into trouble.
Well, you're Mr. Military Man. Besides, the sniper movies and now Call of Duty, like you're getting the chance to play with guns, man. That's got to be a boy's dream come true.
Oh, like you wouldn't believe, and as we've talked in our previous interviews, just growing up, being a big G.I. Joe fan, the action figures, the cartoons, and the movies and comic books and everything else too. It's, it's always been a dream. It's always been a genre that I've always, loved as a fan. Including the original Sniper franchise, the original Sniper movie with Tom Berenger and Billy Zane. So it really is an honor and a lot of fun for me, just because these sort of films speak to my heart. So to be a part of them in a video game and to be able to play them as myself in the games is it's unreal. It's pinch me territory.
Now, like I said, we talked for Assassin's End, but I did not get a chance to talk to you for Rogue Mission, and of course now like Grit that came out a little while ago. All right, I got a confession to make, and I don't want to make you mad, but when I first saw Rogue Mission, I was not a fan. I apologize from the bottom of my heart, but I'm gonna give you the reason why, and it has since grown on me big time. But when I first watched it, I wasn't ready for the 180 that the franchise did with this one. But I can see why they did it. But watching it, I was just like, because I talked to my friend Owen Frill from the Action League, and he's like, have you seen Rogue Mission yet? And I was like, no, I haven't. I'm gonna check it out because I got sent this screener. He's like, prepare yourself. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, then I watched it, and I was like, huh. I'm like, okay, this is different, you know. And it's like, and like I said, when I first watched it, I was unprepared for like the turn that it took. But like I said, it has since grown on me, and I can see why they did it and everything. So talk a little bit about going. So Assassin's End was kind of like the death of one type of sniper movie. Now we have this Phoenix Rising, this rebirth, if you will, a more ensemble, sniper film. So talk about changing of the guard, with Rogue Mission.
Yeah, this was, and you're totally right. We kind of mixed up the tone and the feel, and this was all, Assassin's End, Rogue Mission, and then leading into Grit was, it was a little experimental. This was Oliver Thompson, who's our wonderful writer director on all three. And he directed the last two, Rogue Mission and Grit, obviously. But they came up with this sort of vision where let's lean more into the buddy cop comedy. Let's make it more popcorn.
Yeah.
Let's have the best of both worlds with, really entertaining scenes and dialogue and, keeping a team together for the first time, because, outside of me and Dennis Haysbert's Colonel, or sometimes Richard Miller, Billy Zane coming back, or Berenger playing his original character. The team always kind of came and went. So they experimented with, what if we kept the team ongoing, and what if we kind of lightened that up a little bit while also hitting you with heavy doses of action as well. So I thought it was a really fun experiment. It was really, well received. Mixed reviews from people who are just the hardcore action movie, who appreciate those very serious, self-righteous, very sober, grounded movies, and I can certainly understand that. But it also kind of opened the door to a bunch of people who maybe were into action movies, maybe not, and just kind of wanted to see a little bit more of the popcorn entertainment all around. So it was fun. I thought it struck an interesting chord, and fortunately the proof's in the pudding. We really did well on Netflix, breaking top 10s with these movies and everything else too. So we'll see if that kind of tone continues. And I know action fans are kind of clamoring for things to get back down to the nitty gritty. So maybe in the future we'll strike a balance between the two.
Right. Now you mentioned buddy cop. Now Ryan Robbins, who I'm a big fan of, I loved him. He was on Sanctuary, the Sci-Fi Channel. I looked at his IMDb page. He's got like over 100 credits, like in movies and television. Talk about working with him, because you guys have great chemistry together. You're like Tango and Cash, in a way. It's like so.
That's a great reference, because I love that movie. Kurt Russell and Stallone back in the day.
Absolutely.
They put a lot of trust. It's like, if we got two guys who are playing leads in an action movie, it's like, can you trust them with some comedy? Can they, deliver a zinger and not fall flat on their face? And that was really a vote of confidence from Oliver and, our coordinators and producers at Sony, to let us really try this sort of stuff on for size and kind of find our own individual groove with it all that was kind of appropriate for our character, and kind of spoke more to the dynamic and the relationship that Zero and Brandon Beckett had. So Ryan's great, and he brought the ruckus. He always looks the part. I'm on the poster with him, and of course he's in a tank top, and I'm like, man, I thought I came in shape, and Ryan's a little bulldozer, and I'm like, okay, he could. He's like his one arm is three of my arms, so I'm like, all right, well, at least I'm a couple inches taller, so I've got something going for me. But he's really wonderful to work with. He comes prepared, and he just really loves doing these things too. And he's been such a welcome addition to the franchise that I think has just made it a lot better.
Now, talk about the evolution of Brandon Beckett with Rogue Mission, because he's kind of put into an unfamiliar situation. We always knew him as the hardcore Marine sniper, but now he's thrown into like he's behind a desk, and everything. So talk about like playing him, having to deal with all these changes and everything that was going on, because that added to a lot of the humor too, because he was just like he's like give me a rifle and like let me just crouch down and shoot somebody. It's like,
trading a sniper rifle for a red swingline stapler isn't exactly up Brandon's alley. I don't think we find that out, and I thought that was a really fun plot piece, plot device that Oliver baked into Rogue Mission is what you're talking about, where we see that, Brandon's kind of gotten less out of the field and more into, the CIA, and trying to work his way up the ladder, in the CIA under the guise of the Colonel, Dennis Haysbert. And then, we all kind of find out that that doesn't quite fit, Brandon, and eventually it doesn't fit the Colonel either. And so we went on to form Sniper Grit, which is kind of I don't know, a bit of a black ops team, wet works team that is called in for special missions and stuff like that too. So it was a nice setup that led to the creation of, the rogue team that is called in for the special operations and stuff like that. So I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun. Never in a million years did I think that showing up on set for a sniper movie, I'd be in a suit and tie. But I did get to rock it. I got to clean up a little bit, which was quite nice, because all the other scenes require a lot of dirt under the fingernails, whether it's real or added in makeup. So it was nice to get a little spiffy for a scene.
Well, that was the thing, like, because like in most of the movies, you're like in a jungle or in a desert somewhere, or you're on. Now here, it's like I dug the the city aspect of it. It's like, because we're so used to having the bad guys be like international terrorists and this and that, but now of course we're dealing with the worst of the worst, child trafficking and stuff like that, and stuff like that. So I liked how it switched from the jungles and the desert to the city, the urban warfare, if you would. So talk a little bit about that and how it was the film, like going into that different aspect.
Yeah, we went up to Winnipeg in Canada, which had a lot of cityscape that doubled as London, which is what we tried to double a lot of that for,
right,
in our field office out there, and doing our mission and doing our recon out there in London and stuff too. So we found some really fun urban landscapes, which is other things that you haven't really seen before in the sniper movies and stuff like that. So it was cool. It was a really fun departure to be able to go ahead and shoot in a bit more of an urban setting, and then kind of just to expand, the amount of work that we do, the kind of work that we do, a mission that went to kind of take down, illegal trafficking and stuff like that too. So it was fun, because, normally it was just, hey, here's a bad guy. He's a marksman. You're a marksman. Let's figure out how we take these guys out, this, that, whatever else. And so now we're kind of delivering and working in the kind of government spooks area and exposing some corruption, in there, people in cahoots for profit, of course, and trying to kind of do the Lord's work in an entirely different arena, which I thought was really fun to try and emphasize.
So, and then of course, like I liked how, like, you're a fish out of water, like through a lot of the movie, but then at the end, we got to see the Brandon Beckett, he got the rifle, and he was able to do what he did best. That was, I actually, so again, I've seen it a bunch of times since, and I'm like, I get it, and it's like, I like how they did that. It's like, all right, so listen, we're making like a lot of these movies. So it's like, if we did the same thing every single time, they would get lost in translation, if you will. So now it's like, all right, let's do that. And I like the group thing. I look the aesthetic of it, Lady Death, Zero, you and Dennis Haysbert. Talk about Dennis Haysbert. Oh my God, he just oozes gravitas. Like, he's one of those, he's like the late great Carl Weathers. He's like one of those guys that walks into a room and you're just like, ooh, there he is. He doesn't even have to say a word, which if he does, it's great because he's got the best voice ever. But it's like, talk about working with Dennis Haysbert through all these movies.
Yeah, it's funny, man. And rest in peace, Carl Weathers. Yes. Who's not a fan of Carl Weathers? I mean, hang on. He's been relevant for decades, and there it is. The memes live on, That's right. And I've always enjoyed him. I've been a huge fan of him. But when I read tragically of his passing, I immediately thought of Dennis Haysbert, because I think they're roughly the same age. Yeah. And I was shocked to discover, when I was working with Dennis out in Malta on Grit.
Was Dennis in his 70s? Is he?
I mean, he's up there, and I can't speak to the exact age, but you never tell. I mean, he's so well preserved. He's still incredibly fit, and can still bring the ruckus on set. As an actor and a very, very accomplished actor. So he's wonderful. He does have that gravitas, in his voice, and he's just a really cool dude to work with and to talk with. And I've always been a big fan of Dennis, going all the way back to Major League and all the way up through and throughout in his TV series, that he's done, Unit and everything else too. 24. And so, he's been really wonderful to kind of work back with, because even when we shot the movies back in the day, I think it was Legacy and oh my gosh, he appeared in a couple. Ghost Shooter, when we were in Bulgaria. I don't really have many scenes with him, and I got to meet him and talk to him over some dinners and just seeing him in passing on set, but I didn't really get to work with him. Many of those scenes where you're on the phone having conversations, you're not there with the actor.
Right, exactly.
Record that.
You're not really
visually, and you're not there that day, and then you just kind of pick it up. When they can move locations and get your end of the conversation. So working with Dennis in Rogue Mission and G.R.I.T has just been a real pleasure, because I've gotten to know him and really appreciate him. He's really, really a cool dude and very intelligent. And he just looks the part, and the voice alone sells it. But he's a big, intimidating man. He feels like a colonel.
So I mean, like I said, you mentioned the unit. I love the unit, and I love that show, and I love how, like, he can, like, you mentioned Major League. I'm from Ohio, so they're the Guardians now. I still call them the Indians, but Pedro Serrano, and it's like, like
Jobu.
So Jobu, so like watching like his evolution, and like and like he's like a ninja. You put Dennis Haysbert into a movie, it just elevates it, makes it that much better. So
I remember it was very Oscar buzz worthy, but I can't remember if it was called The Gardener. He did a movie with Julianne Moore set in the 50s, and he's phenomenal. He was absolutely phenomenal in this, and this is probably the early 2000s. And I remember watching this and be like, my God, that's the dude from Major League. And he's just got serious chops that he can bring, all across the board. So, big fan. Super cool to work with him again, especially 2 movies in a row. So, hopefully we see more of the Colonel.
So let's talk about Lady Death. Now, actually, Lady Death, who was played by Sayaka Akamoto in the first 2, but she was replaced, and we'll talk about that. So talk about working with her, like, because I remember when I reviewed Assassin's End and I talked to you about Assassin's End, I loved her being implemented into it, because I brought a Hong Kong type flair to it. I mean, the Japanese or whatever, but I mean, it brought that aesthetic to it. And your fight with her was a standout, because we had never seen anything like that in a sniper movie before. So talk about that.
Yeah, I thought, the entire character design was cool. Everything from the look and the outfits, and riding a motorcycle, a sport bike, and everything else too. I just thought that was really fantastic, and she did great. Sayaka is she's a very, very big in demand pop star as well in Japan, and of course she was with us on Assassin's End, where we introduced her and brought her to justice, and then we kind of recruited her to help us out with some things we were dealing with in Rogue Mission. So she kind of becomes a de facto part of the team, Sniper G.R.I.T, and a big asset for us. But I got across 2 movies, I got to have some really, really fun fight choreography with her, and that was a blast. And because we often do hand-to-hand things, but never, since Assassin's End and then the Rogue Mission and G.R.I.T, it's like these fight scenes have turned into really long, fight, choreographed dances. And Ryan Robbins has a killer one in Rogue Mission, literally fighting in an elevator. That just seems to go on forever, but it's amazing, So that was really fun to kind of lean into, because, you expect the gunfights and stuff like this, but when you can add, really, really fun stunt choreography, fight choreo to that, I think it adds an extra dimension that people really appreciate and enjoy. But Sayaka was a gamer. She was awesome. She showed up and worked her tail off on this part, and it was a really great opportunity. And I thought she brought a lot to the table. And I think Sniper fans kind of welcomed the addition of LD. And unfortunately, she couldn't join us for Sniper G.R.I.T. I don't know the details and circumstances. It might have been schedule or something she had going on. But
that's what I figured.
Luna Fujimoto came in and stepped into her role for Sniper G.R.I.T, and she was fantastic, and she had another epic long fight scene.
I was gonna save that for so the water scene,
so very talented and really, big shoes to fill, but I think she filled them and knocked it out of the park.
So let's go into GRIT now, which stands for Global Response Intelligence Team. I love that. So I saw the trailer for it, and I was like, okay, I get what's going on now, you know. So it's like, so talk about forming this team, and then of course we got, like, I got Intel Pete. I mean, oh my God, what a character that guy is.
Oh man.
Like, and what's Josh Brenner? Is that his? Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. So yeah. So Intel
Yeah.
Pete, he is something else, but we'll talk a little bit about
Yeah.
that in a second. But yeah, so talk about going into GRIT now and what that brought to the foundation of the Sniper franchise.
Yeah, so Rogue Mission kind of teased at the end that
Right.
the colonel had enough of the red tape in the CIA,
Mm-hmm.
and he said, give me my team, which is kind of funny because if you're a Call of Duty Modern Warfare fan of that franchise that I'm blessed to be a part of,
Right.
that's kind of what they did, in the video game that I started in Call of Duty Modern Warfare, the reboot in 2019. There's an end credit scene where, Captain Price, our fearless leader, goes to the higher ups at CIA and he says, I want my own squad, and it's the Task Force 141. And that's the classic team of killers that he assembles, to do these really, really deadly operations and missions. So, Sniper GRIT, the colonel pulls the same thing and basically says, I want out of this. I want to go over, Black Ops. This is my team. This is my squad. And so we kind of bring that into Sniper GRIT, which makes sense. And we, it's Zero, Lady Death, me, of course, the colonel leading the way as kind of our de facto A-team Hannibal. And also, Josh Brenner, who you mentioned, Intelligence Pete, who's kind of our resident hacker and jokester and guy who's addicted to orange soda, which is really, really fun. So it's a ragtag bunch of misfits, and we all work really, really well together to do what we're there to do. So I love that element. There was no surprise. There was a team established. It was teased. We got to really lean into it and really collaborate and work hard together. And they even threw Intelligence Pete in there with the Colonel, for a really odd couple type of mission towards the end of that movie too, which was very entertaining and really fun. So I loved it. It was one of the most fun sniper movies I've ever had a chance to do, between the script and the tone and the dialogue that we got to play with, and filming in Malta, which was incredible as well.
Yeah, so I also liked about it was like the twists, because like the villain you think is the villain isn't the main actual villain, because
Yeah.
then it goes off into a yeah. So I liked how that was different, because it wasn't like your traditional, okay, yeah, we know that the cult guy and everything, and but it went into so much more than that, because once he was out of the picture, you're like, oh, okay, so so talk about the twists and turns, that this one offered.
Yeah, the movie kind of starts with the colonel assembling us, saying, there's kind of a bit of a cult figure in
Right.
Malta who's got, he's a bit of a puppet master, and he's a bit of a snake, and he's involved in all sorts of political corruption and intrigue, and on a global scale, a player to the on the wrong end of the table. And then we find out Lady Death's been missing. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's a kind of a twofold mission where we have to go in and kind of kill the cult leader and kind of break down that organization, and also rescue our friend and teammate who tried to infiltrate that on her own.
Yep.
Sort of Snake Eyes style. So, but then it turns out that there are more players, and not all things are revealed, and we get to learn about Lady Death's father, who's a bit of a Japanese crime lord in his own right. And so it was really fun. I really loved the different, the ups and downs and backs and forths and other things getting revealed about backstories. And, that sort of stuff for an actor is always really fun. And I know Luna as Lady Death got to lean into some backstory stuff and do some flashback work, and, how I became an assassin and who was responsible for that, for better or worse. And it was her father. And so it was really, really fun, and I really enjoyed it, and it was very creative and very entertaining, and a lot of guys running around with green jumpsuits and the cult and berets.
Yeah.
So it just has such a unique look and flair and feel, and it was, like I said, it was one of the most fun sniper movies I've done to date.
It was funny too because like I was talking to a bunch of my inner circle of action bloggers and everything, and we were just laughing, but in a good way, in a great way, because this one is probably the most violent sniper movie of them all. It's like
Yes.
it's like okay, yes, we've had all these sniper films, and yes, people have been shot, and we have seen blood, but it's like this is like almost comic bookish to the sense
Yeah.
like where it's like what the filmmakers were just like, all right, let's just freaking go. Let's just like throw it on the wall and see what happens.
Let's go bonkers. It's funny you say that because I remember talking with Oliver when they first gave me the script before we shipped out to film it. And he just said, I want this to feel like a video game, like just carnage
Exactly.
and
Yes.
bodies and bullets and just, I'm just going for it. And I think that exactly, was delivered, especially with Ryan Robbins rather in Zero with the Gatling gun sequence where he's just kind
Oh my
of
God, that
mowing
was the best thing
down,
ever.
people. And I'm like, yes, really, really fun. I don't know what the final like kill count, body count was in that movie, but it definitely had to be up there. We were recycling a lot of the same stunt actors in their ski masks.
Throw them back out
They
there.
probably averaged about 7 to 8 deaths per stunt actor that we just kept rotating through, killing them off one after another. So I think mission accomplished with the video game feel.
Oh, absolutely. And when you said that, exactly, that's what I should have thought of that. I was like, absolutely, it was like a video game. And then like we were talking a little bit about Lady Death's fight scene, the Wonder sequence where the one shot, like she's carving these guys, and it's just badass. I was like, I'm just watching, and then no offense, I forgot about Brandon Beckett for a couple minutes. I was like watching Lady Death. I'm like, she kind of stole the show. She stole the thunder there a little bit.
Oh man, and all props to her, and we not only did Luna really bring the ruckus on that and just did so much of that fight team, she also had a wonderful stunt double as well. And we worked going back to Assassin's End up in Vancouver, we worked with Hits International, which is an international stunt team, Brett Chan and all his partners, Johnny Yang and so many other that are just so great. We had Vincent Bullion, who doubles for Keanu Reeves, and John Wick. He was with us, Stephen, his cohort and whatever. But we've been using the same group of stunt, coordinators and stuntmen and women across the last 3 movies. And, they've gone on to do Halo, Warrior. They're incredibly legit. We're very lucky to have them involved in our sniper movies as well. So they put together amazing stuff for us. And, it's just, Luna actually has a lot of experience with martial arts and movement and stuff like this. So she's really great. Those things are still very hard to do regardless. Me and Ryan just show up and are willing to accidentally get hit in the face a lot. So that's kind of what we bring to the table.
Well, see, that's what they got to do
outside of that. So
that's what they
fun.
got to do with you. It's like, because there's got to be another one. I mean, but it's like they got to give Brandon Beckett kick-ass one-shot sequence. You just got to take or either you and Ryan just listen. Here's the idea right now. Pay me when it comes to fruition. But you and Ryan back to back and just have this freaking 5-minute just like Scott Adkins in one shot. You should just be just laying people the F out,
John, I'm getting older, man. Me and Ryan are getting up there. It's just honestly when we read the that huge fight sequence that Luna had to do as Lady Death.
Were you guys relieved? We're like, oh, good. It's not we get to sit in our chairs. We get to sit in our chairs and watch her do this when she does all this.
So it was we were cheering around like, go.
You're doing
young
great.
Warrior Princess,
You're doing great.
Yeah, we're gonna be over here having coffee.
All right. So like I said, and again, I my apologies. Like when I saw Rogue Mission, like I said, I wasn't prepared for it, but then I was like, I got it, and then I went through it, and then I was like, okay, I know what's going on now, and I've said it like 7-8 times now, and yeah. And then Grit is like I said, I can't wait to see what happens, because I said, I'm sure you can't say anything or anything, and it's like shh and everything, but it's like I know it's coming. I know one day I'm gonna turn on my computer and it's gonna be like, oh, here's a trailer for a sniper movie. I'm like, no shit, I knew this was gonna happen.
Yeah, I mean, I totally hear what you're saying, and I do think Rogue Mission, was really venturing into new, unexplored territory for us. But what was nice was that we released Rogue Mission, and then they started Sony did a kind of an output deal with Netflix, and so what's called the second window release. So they released Rogue Mission at, I believe it was 2022, and that summer. And then by the time that the winter rolled around, Netflix got to put it out on their platform. So we already had a regular release with VOD and rental and digital on demand and stuff like that. So a lot of people in America had already seen it. And then Netflix dropped it, and we cracked the top 10 and stayed there for 9 days after already having an American release. So, whatever we put out there, people seem to respond to it. And, the same followed suit this past year, where they put 5 movies up on Netflix, including Rogue Mission, which was already, on Netflix. And even Sniper Grit cracked the top 10, but we had 3 sniper movies in the top 10 between Christmas and New Year's for 8 days. And we were all just blown away, peaking at like 2 and 3. And Sniper Grit, unfortunately, and then we had a release for Sniper Grit that we couldn't say much about in September just because the strike was still ongoing.
Yeah.
So we missed an opportunity there, unfortunately, because of timing. But even then on Netflix, I think that they had it kind of hidden behind the ad-free tier, like the premium subscriber tier, because otherwise I think we would have really cracked that list a lot higher and a lot faster. But we eventually, that one broke the top 10 as the 3rd sniper movie we had in there with Assassin's End and Ultimate Kill. So whatever we were putting out there, we're always just blown away that people just respond to them the way that they do. So, I mean, if you look at the company in the top 10 list, I mean, we're just right behind Rebel Moon, the $250-300 million Netflix original. And then there's Sniper, Assassin's End, just tap it on the shoulder right behind you, Rebel Moon. We're not going to catch you, but we're here on your 6. So it was really cool to see,
That's the thing, though. It's never about the budget. It's like, it's what you do with the budget that you have. And it's like, how many, I've been doing this website for it's going to be 9 years in August. It's as old as my daughter is, which is weird. And it's like, I've always championed, like, look, you don't need $300 million. If you have some money and you have people behind the camera and people in front of the camera that know what they're doing in terms of action, and story and everything, it's gonna work out, because like, and again, I'm gonna bring up Scott Adkins again because I talked to him when he did One Shot. Which was the continuous take action movie, which now we have one more shot, the sequel. But like, 1914, the big role, like they had the idea before that movie came out, but nobody wanted to do it because it was too risky. And then this big movie comes out and they're like, oh, wait a second. This movie. So now so it doesn't have to be a big, huge Hollywood blockbuster because how many times have we seen a big, huge Hollywood blockbuster that is like, you're like, can I see the one that was made for $5 million, please? Because it's like,
well, it's not as you say, it's show business, and it's not a perfect science, and I can understand, throw more money into it for bigger explosions and booms and VFX and set pieces and actors that are recognizable and have a following. Like, I understand that you're trying to mitigate the risk and hedge your bets and whatever, but at the end of the day, it's a creative endeavor. And audiences respond to what they respond to, and that's, you can kind of put your finger on the pulse of those things and take their temperature that way, but it's not a guarantee. And so, I think that's always the challenge of, show business. It's the creative meets the business end. And it's very, very hard to predict because the entire endeavor is incredibly subjective. So it makes it risky at times. But then you also have little dark horses and underdogs kind of creeping up into popular lists like we are. So it's really, really quite wonderful. And I can't thank the fans and the audiences enough, for the support over the years. And it's just, we're always blown away on our end because, we love what we do and we try to make the most with what we've got. And I think we do a pretty good job of doing that collectively as a team.
Now it's like at this point, like with all the sniper movies, it's like comfort food for me. It's like when I see another sniper movie come out, I'm like, there it is, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh goody. I'm like, so it's like that. That's the point I'm at. It's like a warm hug. It's like a bloody violent, warm hug.
Right.
That just embraces you. It's like, oh, there's Chad. He's back. And everything. And it's
You
like,
speak a
and
very
like
strange love language, my friend. Sniper movies are a
so
warm hug.
yeah, absolutely. Here, I got my Diet Pepsi. I'm right there with you. But yeah, so like I said, I can't wait to see where the franchise goes from here. And I can't, and it's exciting, with the group aesthetic that you got going now. And I like how you guys at the end of Rogue Mission, I believe it was it where you guys the three of you are walking on the street, and it's just like it's kind of like a Western,
Yeah.
It's like at the end, it is just that was just badass. That was like one of my favorite shots was like
Right.
you three were like, well, and then I'll bring this up again. It's like in Grit, it's like you're all just like, yeah, we're badass. It's like here we go. It's like so. I like how they do that now. That's kind of fun.
All credit to Oliver Thompson for his creative hero shots and his inspirations that he brought to this sort of thing, making us look way more badass than we are in real life. Well, I'll give it to Dennis Haysbert. He's really badass in real life. But the rest of us need the camera help. So all props to Oliver for giving that to us.
And Lady Death has like the war paint going on. I love it.
Yeah.
She puts the
the red sort of.
You should do that in the next one. You should like put here's what you should do in the next one. Hang on a second. This is going to be you next time.
There it is.
There you go.
Yeah. I've had a couple of the sniper movies where I've had to put the old grease paint on.
Oh yeah, absolutely,
like
absolutely.
So
Yeah.
It's pretty fun. I really love it, but that shit gets everywhere. And well, I understand how practical it is in the field, but when you're on set and you've got different scenes to shoot and, continuity take after take becomes important. And now you've got grease paint smeared all over parts of your wardrobe that doesn't match with what you shot before. And it's like, okay, this is a little bit trickier to wrangle here. Don't touch the face, not the face.
So let's switch gears here and because I only got you for a little bit more and talk about Call of Duty, Modern Warfare, the games that you've been doing now. I've always wanted, and if I've asked you this in the past, I can't remember, but I've always wanted to, like what, because you're acting in the movies, but this is still acting, but is it different or is it the same? Like, because obviously, you got the motion capture going on and everything, but is it similar to a point or is it completely different than doing a regular movie?
Yeah, there's a lot of similarities, but it's also incredibly different. Where we're filming any kind of a movie or even a TV show, you've got 1 to 2 cameras.
Mm-hmm.
You're getting all your different shots, starting with a wide, working with your mediums and your 2 shots and whatever, and then getting your close-ups if that's appropriate for any scene that you're doing. So, it's one take, same scene, take, with the different lenses and the different angles and stuff like that. On a mocap stage, we've got 75 to 85 cameras all around the stage, picking us up 360. We've got the director and the DP on a little steady cam over his shoulder, kind of weaving and working around. And then we have, the face cams that come back and get our extreme close up the entire duration of the scene. And, when you're on a film set, you can flub a line, just take a little break for the editor and get right back into the scene. You don't necessarily always have to cut. But you have to cut in a video game because everybody needs to be word perfect as if it's a stage play.
Right.
There's not really a lot of cut points in there. And so they try to get everything from start to finish. And so, we build in rehearsal days, usually, especially for the longer scenes and stuff like that too. So it's very different. You've always got the close up on you and you've always got to be aware of the camera and your co-stars and hitting your marks and kind of being word perfect to get a really good clean take, which can be challenging, especially if you're spitting out a bunch of military jargon and everything else too. So it's a different process. I really enjoy it. I think it's really great. I'm lucky to work with really talented actors who bring the ruckus and, come prepared and, work together to kind of make that magic. And I just love it, man. There's so much crossover between, playing Brandon Beckett, the Sniper franchise, then playing Alex Keller in the Call of Duty Modern Warfare franchise. And I just, I couldn't be
Now,
happier.
did you base a little bit of Brandon like into your Alex, or
You know what's funny is I just think they had naturally similar backstories.
just off the bat they were just you
Yeah,
didn't
it's
have to.
crazy.
Yeah,
It's like the Alex Keller character is, not much is known about him, but he's like, former CIA Special Activities Division. Is Alex even his real name?
yeah,
And when we
yeah.
meet him, he's kind of sent in by the CIA to investigate some global terrorist stuff involving gas and freedom fighters and, Russian militants and stuff like that. And so we kind of learn more about him, but he's kind of a good guy, thinking man soldier. He even has a bunch of original missions in Modern Warfare 2019 where he's, behind scope, doing some sniping missions and stuff like that too. So a lot of beautiful natural crossovers that I just love, a lot of parallels. So, they both kind of feel like all American good guys. Alex has a sweet mustache. Brandon doesn't. This is as good as it's going to get for me.
Right.
Unfortunately, it's just not very good. So
I'm there with you. I shave because I get any facial growth that looks horrible.
It is not impressive. But I couldn't be happier unless I got to play yet another similar soldier in a TV series and had the trifecta. But I'm really blessed to play these characters across the video game and a film series.
Now, I always say, like, because they make these video games, it's like they should make movies out of these videos. Like, you should play Alex Keller and start another franchise, because that would just be super kick-ass. Because, you got Brandon Beckett. He's the Marine. Well, he was the Marine sniper. Now, he's right. Much more than that now. But now you got Alex Keller, the mysterious spec op CIA. It's like like all these video games would, well, not all the time they make great movies, because they make movies out of video games, right. And they leave a lot to be desired. But I think if they made a Call of Duty Modern Warfare with and in the actors that play in the video, I think that it would be kick-ass. I think it would be spectacular.
Well, I mean, I've certainly seen fans, clamoring for a live action Modern Warfare movie. And, what's nice about the gritty realism of a Modern Warfare universe is those characters all look like us, and because it's not some fantasy game where someone is trying to voice an elf or a demon right. or God knows what else.
Yeah.
And a dwarf, in that world, that fantasy world. So the characters, the likeness is really on point, with some special flourishes and special things added on. But they're also incredibly talented actors, who are very experienced TV, film, stage actors and stuff like that too. So, I feel like they could have a worse cast to start working with, but at the same time, with huge budgets come, huge opinions and a desire for huge A-list actors as well. So I'm grateful to be in the video game, and that's just
unfortunately that's what they would. It's like, use you. Why not you? It's like, right. Please, like your resume in itself. Hey, here's the thing: if they don't use you, there you go. So it's so I mean, come on. It's like, if anything, how many of these movies, like, in terms of the action sequences? Now, let me ask you this question. You've done all these movies. Now, how is it, describe from being a novice while, doing the action sequences until now? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, how was it then to now? Like, in terms, do you feel like you're like more of a master at doing the action sequences, or is it like, man, I still got a lot to learn when it comes to this shit?
Oh, I got it's, and I think that's kind of a metaphor for acting in general. Is like, you're always going to learn. You're always going to be able to add on, new skills. And
it's like a black belt when you get because I've done the martial arts. It's like when you get your black belt, they said, okay, you've just mastered the basics now.
Right.
That means you got all this other shit you got to do.
Absolutely, man. And that's, the action stuff for me is just, I've always been, interested in being athletic and, very, very novice, boxing, kickboxing, a little bit of MMA sort of thing, nowhere near even amateur status, but just understanding how footwork and how to throw this stuff together. And then you kind of tweak it for on camera, because it's what you learn technically in terms of technique for those fighting styles has to be tweaked to work for a camera, to sell things in a very different way. So I very much, picked up things as I went along, and was fortunate to be able to work with really great stunt coordinators and fight coordinators and learn how to put these things together. But, you know, any actor who can get a foundation of boxing or kickboxing or even dance movement, that sort of stuff, it's really going to lend itself well to being able to sell the stuff on camera. And, you know, perhaps don't have to be a martial artist. You know, I can't throw the kicks that some of these people can throw because they're lifelong martial artists, whether it's Taekwondo or something like that too. And that's just not kind of, you know, what I've ever trained in. And it does get a little bit harder with age. But, you know, I've always just approached it as like, I'm willing to try anything. And, you know, hopefully we can get something in there that the editor can use. And, you know, most of the times, 9 out of 10 times, you know, it's good enough. So it's really fun for me. I look forward to it. And, you know, I hope we bring a lot more of that balance between the pew pew guns and the fisticuffs sort of thing. Cause that's a sweet spot for me. It's a lot of fun.
That's what I always say on my website: firepower and fisticuffs. It's like if you have a movie that has firepower and you have a movie that has fisticuffs in it, it's great. But when you have both, it's even better.
Yeah.
It's now here. Let me ask you this, and again, I know we're not running out of time. Now, I've already told you like your fight scene with Lady Death, and of course, I always also like it's not like the biggest action sequence, but like in the action when you did like the John Woo thing, like in the truck, you know, you had the double gun thing going. That's I talked to you about that when I interviewed you on the audio podcast. That was one of my favorite scenes of yours because I just love that type of stuff. You know, it's like you're bah, bah. Now, do you have? Those are mine. Do you have, like, out of all the sniper movies you did, an action sequence you're just like, you know what? That's the one that I really love and gravitate to and, like, always think about.
Right.
If you don't, that's fine.
I mean, I really, you know, I love all of them, you know. Most of them have turned out pretty well. And
I get it. But is there just, like, one scene?
Okay. I have one. I have the Rogue Mission scene where I fight Lady Death in the alley. There's a really long choreographed scene.
Yes.
And it's one of my favorites because it was just so unique. You know, I'm not armed. She comes at me with a knife. I'm improvising. I'm grabbing garbage bags to try and, you know, fend her off.
Absolutely.
At a certain point, you know, I end up slamming her fingers in a dumpster lid, you know, to try to, you know, trap her and get her to relax. And, you know, a little deep cut on that. And I had talked to Oliver Thompson on the day, our director, when we were filming this. And, you know, I had a lot of dialogue kind of jammed in there because Brandon's trying to get her to stop. He comes in peace and she is kind of like, you know, doesn't want to get caught, doesn't know why he's here, how they found her. So she's paranoid. So she's fighting for what she thinks is her life. So I'm defending myself while also trying to disarm her, but also try to talk to her as well. And so after, you know, having her, you know, defending myself against her for a while, there's a line there that we kind of improvised, you know, because it was built in the script. And I said, Oliver, you know, could we try something on this next take where, you know, in the middle of my line, she just smashes me in the face. And so, you know, I remember what the line was. It was kind of like, would you please? And then she just jabs me right in the face and whatever. And I was like, well, there's an opportunity to get some blood coming down the nose and whatever. And then we start the fight all over again, just when I think that I've you know, kind of worn her out and calmed her down. So that was a really fun fight sequence. And you know, that's what's fun is if you have an open director and stunt crew and actors that are willing to play, you can discover those little moments that make those scenes even a little bit better. So that was a fun thing to discover, and was used in the trailers, and it actually ended up being a really fun moment in the movie. And it's just something we came up with together on the day.
Awesome. Well, that's great answer. Like, and I totally forgot about that fight. Like, I always go to the Assassin's End because that was the first fight.
That was good too.
Had. And that was the one that because that's monumental to me because it was so different and like, you know, and you got to do some cool stuff in that sequence too. But
that beautiful Vancouver forest, you know, with the mist and the smoke coming with all that greenery, you know, the first Lady Death fight that I have, that was really cool. That was a lot of fun. There were a lot of tree roots on the ground, though. We found a couple of those.
Ouch.
But, you know, forest fighting. What are you going to do?
Absolutely. Yeah, and I totally forgot about your alley fight. And then
Right.
that's another great too. Great answer. So before I let you go, and this has been awesome. Like I said, it's such a great honor to finally get to talk to you about all, because I've wanted to talk to you about these movies for so long. It's like I had to wait. So I know you got some, like, can you tell us a little bit about the record? I know the great Art Camacho directed, who I interviewed. Oh my God, what a phenomenal guy!
Yeah,
I've
I saw
watched
that.
him in PM freaking movies from the '90s, and
Oh man, what a legend.
he's a bundle of energy. Oh my God, it's just like
Yeah.
I was just like trying to keep up with him and everything. Talk, can you give us a little sneak peek about that movie and working with Art?
Yeah, so I did a film last spring
Yep,
before the strike hit and everything,
yep.
called The Wrecker, and I
Mhm.
believe Harvey Keitel, Tyrese Gibson, they got
Yes, you got
Mina
like yeah,
Suvari, Danny
yeah,
Trejo,
yeah.
uh, Nico Foster, really great cast. First time working with these wonderful Las Vegas filmmakers, Al Bravo and his crew out there, and Art Camacho, who's an absolute martial arts legend, who's been
Yes.
doing this for 30 plus years. He directed.
Yes.
Really fantastic to work with him. It turns into a bit of a revenge movie.
Mhm.
Um, and it's a departure for me because I don't want to speak too much about it. I'm sure it'll be coming
Right.
out soon, but I play kind of a screw
I
up,
was I was reading the synopsis. Yeah,
and
you're the screw up. It's
yeah,
like, oh, he's
I
not
get in
Brandon
over my
Beckett in
head.
this one, everybody.
I got some issues, man, and my taste in clothing is something you're definitely never seen me wear before, and would never see me wear in real life, which is really fun to lean into. But I end up costing my brother dearly, and then we kind of go on a revenge mission, together to take things down, and it's all kind of centered around a tow truck because he has an auto repair business, and he kind of soups up a tow truck with his team of people, and it becomes a bit of a war machine. So a lot of fights, a lot of shootouts, a lot of action, and you get a badass tow truck doing a lot of that heavy lifting too,
It's like
all
Rolling
filled
Thunder.
out
You
with
remember that movie
machine
Rolling
guns and
Thunder?
flamethrowers and you
Yeah.
name it. So I'm excited to see how it come together. They seem very, very, very excited to release it. So I haven't seen anything yet, but
I'm waiting
knowing
for it.
knowing that it's Art Camacho directing and putting it all together, it's going to be a real banger.
But isn't that cool? Like, because I know you play Brandon Beckett a lot, and you've been doing the Alex Keller. Isn't it fun to like, yeah? Because I know I interviewed you for Assailant, and no offense, but you
Mhm.
were a dick in that movie for a long part of the movie.
Yeah, yeah,
Now, isn't it fun to like break out and be like, all right, I'm doing something totally different. This isn't, because I know
yeah.
you love Brandon, but it's like it's fun to do other stuff too at the same time.
And I think that's kind of the actor's journey is,
Yeah, that's what you want to
yeah,
do. You don't
yeah,
want to like,
you
yeah,
find what you're good at,
yeah.
and some call it typecasting, but if you love what you do, I mean, being typecasted is a gift. I
Well,
love
that
playing
if
soldiers,
you want
so
to
it's like it's amazing.
if you want to
Yeah.
think about it, Jason Statham's typecast all the time, but that's
Oh
his
my
claim
god.
to fame. That's his
And
claim
what
to
a
fame.
gift. But then
Everybody,
every once
there,
in a while, it gets to step out, right? And
yeah,
every once in a
exactly.
while, it gets to add a little wrinkle here or try something very different on for size. And I've been very fortunate to be able to do that. Where if I get to play the hero stuff, that's the bread and butter.
Yep.
I do get other opportunities. Like for this character, this character, he dresses in club wear and he's on drugs and drinking, and he's ripping around in stolen Ferraris, and it's really fun, I love the chance to kind of step outside or even play the flip side of the coin to a corrupt soldier or an evil soldier, a bad soldier who's justified, a black ops mercenary, that sort of stuff. And I really love it. I really think it's a blast to be able to do. And yeah, it's cool. You're not going to see very many traces of Brandon Beckett in my character in the record.
That awesome. So yeah, so I want to thank you, Chad, for joining me here on the Action Fix Live, and I hope we get to do this again soon because, like I said, you're such a pleasure to talk to. Like I said, you're one of the originals. And I never forget my people, like when I was like nobody. So
I'll expect
and
my ACTION-FLIX founding member pin in the mail, John.
absolutely. Well, you know what? I'm thinking about doing T-shirts and hats and
Hey,
stuff.
there you go.
I'm trying. Like I said, I'm trying to like get it because it's like I've been doing this for 9 years, but it's like I kind of it's like I'm like right here. It's like I
Yeah.
need to get up there a little bit. So I'm like, what else can I do? I'm like T-shirts. Maybe somebody would like to wear a T-shirt with my logo.
You gotta expand into the merch, my friend. Really, it's
Yeah.
you got an amazing brand, and I know people love to read your reviews and interviews and stuff like that. And you speak to the hearts and minds of the action film audience, And so I'm always happy to come back. Hopefully we keep doing more action films that we can keep chatting about, my friend.
Absolutely. All right. So Chad Michael Collins, you know him as Brandon Beckett, Alex Keller from Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Like I said, I want you and Ryan next sniper movie back to back. I want a 5-minute, one-shot continuous take action sequence, and I want you sweating. I want you bloody. I want you beaten, and I want to see that shit, because that, my friend, will be the next level of the sniper.
Listen, as long as you pay for my medical tourism recovery thing with, lots of, B vitamin injections and sitting by the pool while I'm in a cast, body cast, we can work this out. I don't know. Is Thailand nice? Mexico? Where do they do these medical tourism places on where I can go rest and recover after this?
All right. So again, don't forget to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And of course, follow Mr. Collins on social media. He's on Facebook. He's on, what's it called? X, Twitter. I don't know. I don't even freaking know what it's called anymore, but it's like, continued success, my friend. Like I said, you are awesome. And like I said, it's comfort food at this point. It's like, I get another sniper movie and all is right with the world.
Well, thanks, John. It's a pleasure as always, sir. Hopefully we bring you more, and we'll be chatting till the end of time.
All right. So there you go. Chad Michael Collins, star of the Sniper franchise and Call of Duty Modern Warfare, and the upcoming The Wrecker, which was directed by the great and awesome Art Camacho. So hopefully we'll maybe talk about that for a little bit and how different that is. So.
Absolutely.
All right. Until then, Action Flix fanatics, remember, we are your destination for your action fix. And don't forget, check out the Sniper films, Blu-ray, DVD, streaming, Netflix, that kicks ass on Netflix, and G.R.I.T. And like I said, I am so sorry that I was not a fan of the Rogue Mission when it first came out. But like I said, I have such changed my viewpoint, and I hope you find it in your heart to forgive me.
Already forgiven.
All right. Until next time, everybody, take it easy.